What does it mean to be homeless in the United States of America? It means sleeping in a tent under a freeway. It means eating cold food from a donation truck. It means showering once a month if you're lucky. It means walking past thousands of people who pretend you don't exist. It means freezing in the winter and roasting in the summer. And it means living every single day without knowing if you'll be safe tonight. This is the reality for hundreds of thousands of Americans right now. The country that once promised prosperity, opportunity, and a place to call home is now watching as its citizens build entire neighborhoods out of tarps and shopping carts. Today, we are talking about America's ongoing homelessness crisis, a crisis that's growing, spreading, and affecting more people than ever before. Walk down certain blocks in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, Phoenix, or even smaller cities like Sacramento, Austin, or Denver, and you'll see them. Tents lined up side by side. Some are simple camping tents. Others are made of sticks, plastic, tarps, and hope. They sit under overpasses, next to bus stops, behind buildings, and in parks. These aren't temporary shelters. For many people, they are now permanent homes. People have brought in furniture, coolers, stoves powered by propane tanks, and even makeshift toilets. You'll see entire communities, people cooking together, protecting each other, raising pets, and sometimes even kids. But this is not sustainable, it's not safe, and it's not what anyone should call a home. The problem is not just visible, it's everywhere. From the biggest cities to small towns, tents have become symbols of failure. Not of the people, but of the systems that abandoned them. This crisis didn't appear overnight. It's been building for decades. Housing prices have been climbing while wages stayed frozen. Between 2000 and 2025, the cost of renting a home has nearly tripled in major U.S. cities. But most minimum wage jobs haven't kept up. In many places, a person working 40 hours a week at minimum wage still can't afford even a basic studio apartment. At the same time, public housing programs were slashed. In the 1990s and early 2000s, thousands of low-income housing units were removed or sold off. Cities gentrified. Old buildings were replaced with luxury condos. But where did the previous tenants go? They were pushed out, displaced, and many ended up on the streets. Add in rising healthcare costs, job insecurity, inflation, and the lack of a social safety net, and you have a recipe for disaster. One car repair, one medical emergency, or one missed paycheck can put people out on the streets. And for some, once you're out, it's nearly impossible to get back in. When people picture the homeless, they often think of drug addicts, mentally ill individuals, or criminals. But that picture is far too narrow and unfair. The truth is, America's homeless population is made up of working people, families, veterans, seniors, teenagers, and people who used to live stable, middle-class lives. You'll meet women in their 60s who worked as nurses and now sleep in their cars. Single mothers trying to raise 2 kids in a tent. College students who can't afford rent despite part-time jobs. Even people with full-time employment living in shelters because they can't make ends meet. Yes, there are people dealing with mental illness and addiction, but often those issues came after becoming homeless, not before. Living on the streets breaks people. It traumatizes them. Imagine sleeping outside, exposed, hungry, scared, and ignored. Over time, anyone would suffer mentally and emotionally. And it's not just adults. According to current data, over 4 million children in America experience homelessness each year. Some are in shelters, some live in cars, some sleep on couches in overcrowded homes, some have no shelter at all. Let's talk about what it looks like in 2025. Tent cities have exploded across the country. Not just a few tents here or there, but entire zones. In Los Angeles, Skid Row stretches for blocks, home to thousands. In San Francisco, tents line Market Street. In Portland, there are now maps online showing where tent encampments are because there are so many. In Phoenix, people sleep on the sidewalks in 110-degree heat, covering themselves with blankets to avoid sunburns. In Chicago, people huddle together in the winter trying to stay warm when temperatures drop below freezing. In New York, many stay in the subway to avoid the cold above ground. Cities have tried to clean up these areas. Police sometimes sweep through, tearing down tents and throwing away people's belongings, but the problem doesn't go away. It just moves. Tents pop up again days later, because if you don't solve the cause, the lack of affordable housing, all you're doing is shuffling the crisis around. Some cities have installed anti-homeless architecture, metal spikes on benches, locked public bathrooms, or boulders placed under bridges. All these measures send a clear message. You're not welcome here, even if you have nowhere else to go. Over the years, there have been programs, promises, and plans. Politicians from both parties have made speeches about ending homelessness. But in 2025, the numbers are still rising. The federal government provides grants, but they're often not enough. Local governments try to build shelters, but communities often oppose them. People don't want a homeless shelter in their neighborhood. NIMBYism, not in my backyard, is a powerful force. Some cities have offered tiny homes or modular housing. A good idea, but limited in scale. In many cases, demand is far greater than the supply. Wait lists stretch for months, even years. Then there are the criminalization laws. In some cities, it's illegal to sleep in a car. In others, you can be arrested for camping in public. But where else can people go if they have no money, no housing, and no options? The truth is, America hasn't yet treated homelessness as a real emergency. We respond to hurricanes, floods, and fires with billions in aid. But homelessness is treated like a nuisance, not a disaster. Imagine waking up on a thin mattress laid over cold concrete. You're inside a tent that leaks when it rains and bakes when it's hot. You step outside and your shoes are wet from the morning dew. You brush your teeth using a water bottle. You try to stay clean, but you haven't showered in days. Every moment is a struggle. To find food, to stay safe, to avoid the police, to protect your few belongings. People in tent cities live with constant fear. Theft is common. Assaults happen. There's no privacy, no locks. Women face the constant threat of sexual violence. Seniors suffer without access to medications. People with disabilities are left vulnerable. There's no running water, no bathrooms, no trash pickup. And yet, despite all this, people form bonds. They create community. They look out for each other. They survive. That's the American spirit, even when the American system has failed them. The problem is big, but it's not impossible to solve. First, we need affordable housing, real housing, not shelters that kick people out every morning, not beds that come with endless paperwork. People need a key, a door, and a place they can call home. Second, we need to raise wages. People working full-time should not be homeless, period. Third, we need universal access to health care, especially mental health and addiction services. These should be available for free and without judgment. Fourth, we need to treat homelessness as a public health crisis, not a criminal issue. Ticketing people, arresting them, or bulldozing their tents doesn't solve the problem. It just hides it. And finally, we need compassion, real compassion. Not just pity or sympathy, but policies rooted in understanding that no one chooses to live in a tent unless they have no other choice. Right now, as you watch this, someone in America is setting up a tent to sleep in tonight. They may have had a job, a home, a family. They may still have hope. But what they don't have is a place to call their own. The tent cities in America aren't just sad, they're shameful. They are the result of decades of neglect, inequality, and greed. But they're also a warning, because if nothing changes, the tent cities will grow, and more people will be forced to live in conditions that no one deserves. We must choose. Do we want a country where people sleep on the streets, or a country where housing is a right, not a luxury? The tents are growing. The crisis is real, and the time to act is now.